Hello, hello. Hmm. Let's give it an extra 5 minutes to see if any other person will join. Okay, I think we'll have to get started anyways. So in today's call, first of all, hi everyone, or hi. Um, Welcome to another edition of the Dev Advocates Dev Advocates weekly sessions. In today's call, we want to do like a recap of yesterday's DA satellite sync, DA satellite meeting. So yesterday we had the satellite call that had all of the developer advocates and the entire community in one call. The idea was for us to sync with folks in Open Source Summit North America, and for us to kind of like catch up with, with the community over there, learn about the new updates and new announcements at the summit, and for us to also like host like a mini workshop that kind of like goes through how you can run a node, whether you want to run like your own node locally or you want to run your own node on the cloud. It was, that's mostly the essence of the satellite session. So today I just want to do like a quick recap of some of the things that we did during yesterday's session. One sec. One second. So, like I said, today's call is mostly about us doing a recap of most of the things we already did yesterday. Okay. Let me see. Right. So let me just share my screen. Awesome. So like I said, most of the things we did yesterday was basically around how to run a node and all of that. Just 1 second. One second. Um, mm, oh, my bad. Cool. So yeah, we shared like different ways you can run like a Cardano node. Whether you want to set it up locally or whether you want to like run your own node yourself. So we started off by having Dan, who is a developer advocate, lead us on how to set up a local Cardano DevNet with Yasi DevNet, DevKit. So I'm just going to go through his material uh, to give you a rundown of some of the things we did. So basically, this is like an information on how you can use like a copy and paste setup for local Cardano DevNet using Yasi DevKit, right? So basically, you are going to get like a single node Cardano network, a block frost compatible index site as a Yasi store, and a browser-based explorer running in seconds, right? The first things first is you need Docker for this because this is you spinning up the node, right? So you need Docker for it. And basically once you have Docker installed, you kind of like proceed with installing the Yasi dev kit, right? I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty of telling you like each of the commands. You already have all of it here in the documentation. But yeah, so once you're done installing Docker, you move to install the Yasi dev kit. So you have like two options, right? So either you install the dev kit via a Docker zip, or you install it via npm. So it depends on the approach which you want to take. Usually I tend to recommend folks to go for option A, which is like a Docker zip, because it's easier to run, right? It is easier to run, and it is kind of like more natural, right? To take this approach if you're installing a, like a binary, right? So yeah, you install the Yasi dev kit, and once you're done, you move to clone the source code repo, right? Once you clone the repo, you give it edit access, right? You give an edit access to the repo so that you can be able to run root commands on that repo. Once that is done, you start the dev kit. So this is how you start the dev kit. So you navigate to the location where the dev kit is stored, and then you run this. So you run the dev kit binary, and then you run the stats command. You run it alongside the stats command. The good thing about dev kit is that they try to the creators of the project tries to make it uniform across different environments. So whether you're on Windows, whether you're on a Mac, or whether you're on Linux, the command is the same, right? So yeah. Once you run this command, you see the URLs banner, right? You see the URLs banner, and then it drops you into the CLI, because the command is supposed to start up the CLI for you. So you're supposed to see something like this, right? Something that shows like Yasi CLI, which is like the interactive CLI provided by Yasi. Okay. And something to have in mind is that in this fresh dev kit, you don't have a node yet. You don't have like a devnet yet. Sorry, you don't have a devnet yet. So you need to create your own devnet, right? So let's proceed to create a devnet. So for creating a devnet, all you need to do is you run the create node command, right? Of course, you need to pass some flags, but the main thing here is the create node command. So running the create node command alongside these flags, this one tells it how many, this one tells it the like whether you want it to start or it stops and all of that. So once you run this, so for you to run a single node, right, and you want to default it to 1 second per block, 1 second blocks, then you need to run this command, right? For if you're looking to like having like a fast 200 millisecond blocks, you need to use this command, right? If you want like multi-node cluster, you need to run this command. So you don't have to like you don't have to like write everything down. This is currently a PR against the DevX website's repo, so it's definitely going to be up very soon. It's definitely going to be up very soon. So we're just trying to, I'm just trying to do like a recap of everything that we did during yesterday's satellite session. Okay. So after you run the start, the prompt switches to this, which is showing that you are now on DevNet, right? Of course, you need to verify to make sure that you're on DevNet. So you run some commands, some basic commands, right? Like tip or info or default addresses, things like that. And then it proceeds to funding the test address, right? So you do things like top up, and then you paste the address to try and test to see if actually the basic testing function, the basic funding operations work as expected, right? So once you're done with that, you go to you set your environmental variables, right? You set like you set like the dev kit location in the shell, so you can be able to run you can be able to run the YASI dev kit wherever you have it on your application, or whenever you have it on your machine, right? Of course, setting the network magic and all of that. Then once you're done with the environmental variables, you go to the Cardano CLI, right? Because you need the Cardano, you need to run it against DevNet. So for this, you have to like go back to the binary, that's the dev kit binary, and then you run the dev kit, the YASI CLI, right? Alongside these other commands, so query and tip, right? Once you're done with that, you declare your protocol parameters. And then what else? And then once you're done with that, you SSH inside the container, right? So that kind of like gives you access for you to see your nodes and the UTXO keys and things like that. This is like a full demo transaction, of course. like I said, it's a copy paste end to end. So you don't need to like do anything off your head, right? All you need to do is just follow this guide. It's super helpful. Then once you're done with this, you of course you go back to the store, because we've been dealing with the node all this while, right? So now it's for us to go to the store. So you hit the endpoint for the indexer, right? And the indexer, the indexer, mirrors block first, right? You can choose to hit the endpoint via the CLI using the call, um, the call utility tool, or you run it on your browser, right? I mean, for me, it's easier to just run it on the CLI since I'm already on the CLIs. So you have all of this command for you to try that. Again, you can also use it from your dApp, right? So that is one option. And then optional, you have like these other tools like Ogmuse and Kupo, so which allows you to run this these different commands, right? That's the whole store thing, right? Basically kind of like exposes the minimum block first compatible endpoints, right? So, but we won't have to go into detail into that here. So, but yeah, like I said, all of this information is already there for you. And then we'll move to the next phase, which is like if you want to like reset or you want to stop or you want to restart, the way you do it is still within the DevNet. Make sure that you're also in the default branch, right? The default branch of the DevNet, right? So inside it, you can use the reset command to kind of like wipe your DevNet data and start over, right? If you want to stop, like if you want to stop the node, you have to navigate to the node, to the devkit binary location. That is where you can run the stop command, right? Of course, the stop kills all the devkit containers. It kills all of them, all the devkit containers. Of course, your Docker container would also be running, right? So you have to kill this and then kill Docker container afterwards. But yeah, this kills all the devkit containers. If you want to restart, that's the containers plus interactive CLI. All you need to do is to use the start command, right? And you need to run it against the devkit binary. Some things to have in mind though, if the node was offline for hours and the query tip shows sync progress stuck below 100, you run reset. So basically, like, you need to have in mind that a single producer DevNet does not catch up across large wall block gaps. So usually, like, the DevNet is not built to run for hours, right, uninterrupted. So it's always advisable to, after a while, maybe if you've been running your DevNet for like, let's say, like 15 hours straight, right? It's always recommended to kind of like just reset, because if you don't, you're going to like run into wall clock, right? You're going to run into wall clock gaps, and that might probably not be what you desire. So So yeah, something to have in mind. And yeah, you can do your rollbacks. You can test your rollbacks. And yeah, the commands are here. And the last but not the least, these are like different troubleshooting techniques that you can always use as a reference, right? So in case you're going through this tutorial or this guide and you run into any of the symptoms, right? Maybe like you try to connect to Docker daemon and you see this error message, cannot connect to Docker daemon, you already know what to do, right? Or you see things like this, like ports already running in ports already in use in 8080, 3001. You already know that, okay, this is how I can fix it, right? So basically, this is just a list of the different symptoms that you can run into and the different fixes or different ways to fix. So yeah, this is for the dev kit. Like I said, this was discussed during yesterday's satellite call. And another thing we also touched on was how to run a stake pool operator, right? There is a whole repository by Emmanuel, who is also like a developer advocate, that you can use to kind of like, run your own Cardano stake pool, right? So it contains the prerequisites and the step-by-step guide. So yeah, we won't go too much into details on this particular one, but yeah, as you can see, the guide kind of like walks you through the different ways or the different steps you need to take to run a stake pool, right? So the part one, of course, is the relay node setup, right? So you need to like, make sure that you clone this repo, because everything you need is in this repo, right? So, and also make sure that you have Docker running, because like I said, we are running nodes here. So if you're talking about node in Cardano, you know that you need Docker to run these nodes. So Docker needs to be always there. So once you're done having these prerequisites set up, then you navigate to the repo, and then you run your Docker compose, right? Once you're done, you verify that the node is running by running this command. And once you're done, you check these different configuration files, right? So you check your config.json, topology.json, genesis.json, to make sure that everything is supposed to be the way it is. Then you move to the part two, which is like the stake pool setup. Yeah, so this is like like an overview of like what a stake pool is, the different architecture of a stake pool, and the different areas of a stake pool, right? I mean, the most important part, which is like generating a key. This is how you do it. This is how you do it, right? So you set up a workspace and generate the required keys. So you do something like this to do it, right? So you run these different commands to generate, maybe code keys, if you want to generate for code keys. If you want to generate, key as keys, the same thing applies, right? If you want to generate the VRF keys, same thing. Then you have the operational certificate section. This is like a section where you issue your operational certificates, and then after that, you generate your payment and stake keys, right? And you move to the next phase, which is like, starting the block producing node. So these are the commands you use for that. After that, do your pull registration. And once you're done, you can either, this is optional, you can choose to host your metadata on GitHub Gist. I mean, the reason why I said you can choose to is because GitHub Gist is just one alternative, is just one platform, right? You can choose to have it hosted on your website or something, but usually by popular demand, this is like a much more natural way of like posting your metadata, right? So you do it like this, put all the necessary credentials, and you submit your registration transaction, right? And you do it using these different commands. I mean, I know it can be too much, right? But that is why we have a guide for you. We have this guide, and feel free to take advantage of it. It's a step-by-step guide that kind of like allows you to kind of like do these things, right? Once you're done with it, you verify to see your pull on the Explorer, right? That's to make sure that everything is working as expected. And yeah, of course, you have like your maintenance section and then your troubleshooting section. But yeah, you get the gist. The idea is for me to kind of like show you some of the things that we discussed in yesterday's call, and yeah, I don't know if there is any question you might have. Something to also add is the session was recorded, so you definitely, once it's live, you can definitely watch it on the Intersect Open Source Office official YouTube channel. So in case there is anything I'm missing in this particular session, you can always catch it. You can always catch it in the next section, right? You can always catch it in the recorded session, right? But yeah, it was really, really nice. It was a wonderful event, and unfortunately, we all couldn't be in the US for the Open Source Summit, but the good thing is that we have our with some of our members of the community. We had representatives from the committee, open source committee, represent us, at this event, right? So yeah, it was a wonderful event. It was a wonderful event, and yeah, like I said, the recordings will be posted on YouTube, just in case. Yes, please.
Yes. Hi, Uche.
All right.
I don't know if you remember this face, but we met in Nairobi.
Yeah. I do. I remember.
Yeah. I came late, but my question is not related to. I just wanted to notify something because I was trying to join the meeting via the link on the DevX profile here, but I've noticed that the link which is there is kind of different from this one. This one
Oh.
I took it from the Discord server. I tried to join. I was like 5 minutes earlier, but can't. No, nobody was there. So I think.
Okay. Okay. Then I think it's. Oh. Then I think the bug still exists. So definitely it's a bug. I'm sorry about that. I'm going to let me create an issue on GitHub because I think if it's a bug, then we need to get it fixed. So let me create an email for that. Mm. 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 Okay, I just opened an issue on GitHub for this. I'm definitely going to follow it up to make sure that this gets fixed. Yeah, thanks for bringing that to my attention. Awesome. Any other question? Okay. Looks like we're going to call it a day then. Yeah. Thank you so much, yo, for joining. Something to have in mind is, like I said, these sessions are recurrent, so they happen every week. So in case you wanna like maybe this particular time doesn't work for you, you can always join that of next week, which is gonna happen, later in the day. Usually happens around like 7, 8 p.m. my time. Maybe it might be like 6 p.m. your time, or 4 or 5 p.m. But usually it's usually like late in the day. So yeah, thank you so much once again for joining, and yeah, I hope I see you in the next one. Cheers.